Okay, good day everyone. I am Von Andrea Gutang, BS Hospitality Management, and I am going to be your presenter for today. And I'm going to discuss about the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So, what we'll discuss is first we have the metamorphosis, the background of metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? What is it about? What is the story about? And then next we'll have the author of the story, the background of the author, the characters of the story analysis and discussion, and then the last part is the moral of the story. But before we'll proceed to the main topic, I will give you a quote from the author himself, Mr. Franz Kafka. He is terribly afraid of dying because he hasn't yet lived. So, this is a quote from the author, and this is somehow related to his literature, which is the Metamorphosis, that we will soon find out later. So, again, what is the Metamorphosis? So, it is Franz Kafka's early 20th century novel depicting the transition of a man named Gregor Samsa from human to insect and the complications he faces in his new form. Not only does his transformation affect himself, but also the members of his family, specifically his father and his sister. So, about the author again of the Metamorphosis is Franz Kafka, born in 1883 and later died on 1924. So, he is born to a German speaking Jewish family in Prague. So, he has no literary attention after his death and had a different relationship with his father. And he worked as a clerk from an insurance company, and his work or literary works fuses elements of realism and the fantastic. For the characters of the story or the novel The Metamorphosis, we have the main character, Mr. Gregor Samsa, his parents, Mr. Samsa and Mrs. Samsa, his sister, Gret Samsa, the three lodgers, and their maid. So, to give you the summary of the story, so again, the Metamorphosis tells the story of Grigor Samsa, a traveling salesman who one morning wakes to find he has inexplicably turned into a large insect like creature. At first, his family is horrified by his transformation, but they soon come to accept it and learn to live with him while he attempts to adjust to his new life. Despite his attempts, Gregor's life is ultimately filled with extreme boredom and frustration as he is unable to go outside or take part in any meaningful human activities. His family also begins to ignore and mistreat him, and eventually he dies of starvation after months of being confined in his room. The metamorphosis highlights the tragic consequences of alter- alienation and absurdity in life. So once again, um, the story Metamorphosis revolves around a young man named Grigor Samsa. So he's a very hardworking man, and he just work and work for his family. His family relies on him financially, and then he just woke up one day realizing that he is not the usual self anymore. He just woke up and realizing that he turned into something, a large insect like creature. And then after that, when his family realized that he did not come outside his room, they call a doctor because they thought that he was sick, and then they call a locksmith to open the door. But then after opening the door, they were shocked to see a giant insect creature in Grigor's bedroom. So after that, when they realized that it was Grigor who turned into a giant insect, they had finally, um, at first, of course, they were horrified by his transformation, but after weeks or months of it, maybe they have accepted Grigor's transformation, and then accepted accept the fact that he turned into one, and then just learn to live with him. And then at first, of course, um they took care of him. They showed them care and love. And then eventually, after years passed by, um they soon began to they soon began to treat Grigor, treat Grigor like he's just like an insect and not a part of their family anymore. So since because of that, they haven't found anyone to provide for themselves, so they turned Grigor's bedroom into a bed spacer. So they look for lodgers or bed spacers who can rent for Grigor's room, so that they can earn an income from that. But because of that, after they have found three lodgers, those lodgers were horrified after they saw a giant insect like creature in their room. And because of that, his mother his mother and father have tried to get rid of him. And because of that, eventually, Grigor's life ultimately filled with boredom and frustration. And he wasn't able to go outside and enjoy life as he used to be when he was still normal. And then his family begins to ignore him and mistreat him. And then he eventually dies after months of being confined in his room. So the maid saw him eventually, and then it's sort of like they were happy that he is now gone. So that is the full summary of the story, The Metamorphosis. So let's go to the moral of the story. So the moral lesson of the story Metamorphosis is to preserve and remain positive in the face of adversity. Throughout the story, Grigor Samsa suffers through his transformation into an insect and the overwhelming reactions people have to it. Despite this, he still manages to continue on with everyday life and find a way to make his situation more bearable. This is an example of how, no matter the situation, it's important to stay positive and find ways to make the best of it. Additionally, no matter how difficult life may be, it's important to remain resilient and find ways to cope with the difficulties. And I would also like to share with you a real story that is very relevant to the novel The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I have known this lady or this woman for a very long time now. And then she is very hardworking too. She worked abroad as an OFW. And then she supports her family, her two sons, her siblings, and then up from his parents to her siblings, to her nieces and nephews. He support them all. And then after that, and of course his two sons, he made them go to school, he supported them, he gave them whatever they want. And then now that her two sons were already stable, have already a stable job, and already has a family, they turned down their mom sadly. And then they were just they just seemed to be forgetting about her. So Imagine, no, after years of working abroad just to support her family, just to provide for their needs, after all those sacrifices she've made for her family, she got nothing in return, not even just sympathy from her children. So another thing that I can say, or I can analyze from the story, is that you have to um you have to you have to realize your importance. You have to love yourself first. It's not wrong to work hard to provide for your family, of course, because it is our responsibility. Most especially if we have children, it is our responsibility to take care of them and provide for their needs. Of course, our family, we love them so much, and it's very necessary for us. We have a moral obligation to fulfill. So, in order for that to, we have to we have to give them something in return. But we have of course we have of course to not forget of ourselves. And the only, there's a saying that goes, um after after our death in our workplace, after our death, our position in that company or in that workplace, our position will be eventually replaced by someone. They will they will hire someone to replace our position in the company after we die. And in our family, they will all cry in our grave after we die, saying things such as they love us and such. And our friends, after we're gone, they will eventually find someone who will replace us in their lives. So, the most important thing is to be happy, because eventually the the last person to pat ourselves in the back is ourselves, and the last person to comfort ourselves is ourselves. As the saying goes, the best companion is ourselves. So never ever forget yourself. Have fun and make the best out of your life. So that's it. And before I end my presentation, I would like you to leave a quote. Sometimes you just gonna be your own hero and save your own little heart. Because sometimes the people that you can't imagine living without can actually live without you. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for listening. Once again, this is one Andrea Gutang, BSH.